Hey guys, it's the show, no it's not. So today I decided to make a video because I'm going to have 2 turkey days instead of 1. You know, obviously the first was Thanksgiving, but the second is going to be today on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to because I get to have a nice little meal with my parents and my brother-in-law and my sister. So I decided to make like a special little dish and demonstrate to you all, how to make this dish for a little side that we're gonna have with the meal. So the dish that I've decided to make today is cheesy hash browns. Let's begin. Alright, so the first ingredient we're gonna need is a cup of sour cream. Now I have this measuring cup, which as you can see, label fell off, but with some quick measurement, I was able to determine that it's about it's about a fourth of a cup, so need about a fourth of this. Okay, let's say that's, all right, we need 2.5 of that. Let's get a half. Okay. So that's about 3. And 4. So 4 cups of sour cream. Alright. Next, we're going to need the obvious ingredient of cheese, which we're going to need about a cup's worth. So I'm going to grab like 4 of these. Just one moment. 1. 2. 3. And 4. So we got that. And then next on the list, we're going to need a can of, you can either use cream of chicken or you can use cream of mushroom. I'm going to use cream of chicken because I'm not a huge fan of mushroom. So you add that to the mix, just one moment. Yeah, you add that. So now that we got all that, let's mix it up a little bit, just to get some of the, just a tad to start with. Alright. Probably should use something different other than this egg beater. The more you know. Alright. Next, we're going to have to add 2 packages of hash browns that have to be thawed. I think that might be a little too much, but yeah, we're going to have to mix that in as well, and I'll do that. So now that we got all that mixed together, which I'd say we did a pretty good job mixing it all up, we're going to need the seasoning, which we're going to need for the first seasoning. We're going to need a teaspoon of salt, so just one moment. This thing is not. Add about a teaspoon of salt for the seasoning, and we're going to add the most important seasoning, the garlic. And you know what we're gonna do with this amount of garlic? We're gonna add maybe just a little bit, just a little skimful, just a tad, you know. You gotta season it to taste, and then we put this, and we put the rest back. What? I intend for my family to eat this. I'm not gonna kill them with too much garlic. So next, you're gonna want to take a glass pan and spray it down, and then you're gonna want to add your cheesy hash browns. I used a package of a half instead of 2 packages because turns out there was a lot of hash browns in these packages, so I'm assuming that you do with smaller packages, but yeah. So for those packages you saw, I'll just use a package and a half. That should be fine. So now we have our cheesy hash browns, which are now pretty flattened out. What I'm going to do is, my dad is currently cooking a turkey, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tin foil on top of this. Going to put this in the refrigerator. I'm going to cool it for a little bit, and then we'll make the topping once we're ready to begin cooking. So I will check back in a little bit. So while we're waiting for the oven to be clear so we can make the hash browns, I think it's time for a beer break. So the beer we're going to be trying today, or the beer that I got to show you guys today, is a little beer that I made, it's not a beer I made, but a beer that I got from the Great Lakes Brewing Company, which is a local brew in my area, which is called the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is a porter. This is a beer that is particularly bitter, and as you can see, there's a bit of foam to it because I added some ice to it, but this beer in particular, has what is known as it is a dark roast porter beer, and it added also some chocolate coffee pieces to also add some bittersweet taste to it. It's a particularly bitter beer, and if you're interested in porters, specifically dark porters and bitter beers, I'd say that this is a pretty good beer. I think it's fitting to drink this beer right now because if you guys are familiar with the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald, this beer was made in commemoration of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which was a famous ore freighter that sank off the coast in Lake Superior. If you want to know the story, Gordon Lightfoot makes a song about it, but he talks about how, the winds of November came early. So I think it's a fitting beer to try. So, and obviously, if you guys aren't interested, in the sort of beer of what I described, that's understandable, but I think it's a pretty decent beer, and I'd say give it a shot. Alright, so now that we have the system set up, and we got our, our little hash browns, we can now start making the topping for it. So what we need is about 2 cups worth of cornflakes and about 1/8 of a cup of melted butter, as you can see in the cup. So let's go grab that. Just kind of, oh yeah, it has to be crushed too. Just one moment. So now that you have your cornflakes crushed up, you then want to add it to the bowl for the topping. Then you want to mix up the butter with the topping a little bit, which will take a little bit. So now you're going to take the cornflakes and then you're going to spread it on top of the setup. As you can see, we'll have to spread it around to get it all even. So once you got an even base for all this cheesy hash browns for the topping, then you want to take your oven, set it to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and then let it cook for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And there we go, we have cheesy hash browns. So after making this dish, I saw my family members eating this dish together, and they seemed to really enjoy it and even came back for seconds, which I definitely believe it shows that a lot of people really liked it. I had some myself, and yeah, I very much enjoyed the dish. However, if there are things that I would like to improve upon this, I would say I would probably add more cornflakes to the top to give it a better topping. Like as you can see, it's a little sparse for my liking. Maybe add a little bit topping to improve on this. And along with that, I also think that there should be less garlic involved, but otherwise, I think for, cheesy hash browns, I did a pretty good job. So as far as a ranking for myself on this dish, I would say I would give myself 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10, which I think is fair. But yeah, I think this was a very good dish, and yeah, this is how you make cheesy hash browns.